All right, testing 1, 2, 3. Test, test, test. Testing 1, 2. All right, testing 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing. Hey, Debbie, how you going? Can you let me know? Can you see the video and hear me, everybody? Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Marvelous. Awesome. Very good. Welcome. Hope you're having a great weekend or a good morning wherever you happen to be. Of course, it's already Monday here in Australia. We're in the future. Got a lot of great feedback from last week. I was very proud of you all creating stealth Sage documents and doing all the editing and putting all of that together. It was very satisfying part of the challenge for me to see everybody doing so well. So that is fantastic. Really pleased about that. All right, so what is the challenge going to be this week? In fact, I would argue to say that this challenge is perhaps the toughest that we have done so far. This week will be the probably, without doubt, the toughest challenge I think that we have done so far. So I hope you are prepared. I really, really do. I'm glad you love the drills, Deborah, because we'll be definitely doing a drill. That is for sure. Okay, so let's preface this week's challenge a little bit by just, if we look at the sorts of things that we've done so far as we've been going about, creating our practice for fun business here, practicing our skills all throughout this particular challenge season. We've tried to tackle each of the things that would absolutely stop somebody. I've been doing this for many, many years now, and I've taught well over 480,000 students on how to start their business. And what I've been trying to do with this challenge is look at the ways that, what were the things that stopped people from being part of this and stop them from doing the challenge successfully, starting a business successfully. What are the things? Let's have a fun little exercise right now with everybody who's on live, and feel free to put this, if you're watching this on the replay, please feel free to put your answers in the comments. It'll be really, really interesting for everybody so that you can play along. And while we're here, don't forget to like, subscribe, and smash that notification bell so you know when we're doing these live broadcasts. But fantastic. Betty's already started. Well done. So let's just, what are some of the things that have stopped people, not necessarily yourself, although it can be yourself. I'll just give you a minute to type in. Set a timer for 1 minute. Just in the chat window, things that have stopped you, or that you just know have been things that have stopped people from starting a business. Cool, they're starting to come in now. No market, tech issues, fear making something people will hate, no product, too many squirrels, overthinking things, tried to start and got burned, tech, lack of a market, how to get a list, no product, tech stuff, didn't feel prepared, not feeling like I'm an expert. That's a really big one, Debbie. Making time to do it consistently, time, life getting in the way. It's really hard to get activities done. I work so hard at work, most of my willpower is drained, though I'm getting better and better. Funny you should mention that. Too much info and not knowing what to do with it. All right, time. Overwhelm, life issues, changes in life situations. These are all super valid reasons why people don't get a business started. And we've tried over the course of this challenge to tackle some of these big issues. So, one of the big ones is not being able to pick a market. So we took all the stress out of that by, let's just pick a market for practice and for fun, right? And things, when it came to time, trying to get people in the habit of doing tiny amounts daily and showing that by the end of the week, small amounts done daily and consistently rather than trying to cram is often way more effective. And we've been doing drills like, wow facts, which was our very first drill, or, copying out headlines, or looking at different processes for things like editing. We created an entire Sage document, not by calling it a document and causing all that stress up front, but by slowly putting together over the course of a couple of weeks, we put together all the vomit drafts, and then we spent a week editing the document, and that document can be a real asset for us, right? All of those things. But what I noticed there, and a number of you said this, was saying, overwhelm, life issues. I work so hard, so I'm really exhausted when I get home from work. These sorts of things, and it all comes under the heading of energy. Now, not energy in the woo-woo type, energy stuff like that, but there is just a harsh reality that is, if you're trying to do any of these drills, even if they're 5 or 10-minute drills, if you're trying to do any of these in an exhausted state, you're not going to get the effect. You're not going to get any of the, how can you possibly be creative if you are, to use the Australian expression, knackered? It makes no sense. And one of the most massive parts, one of the biggest problems that I have seen over the last 15 years or so, is that people are trying to do their business building on the last dregs of their energy. It's the last thing, because, when you think about it, we've talked about this in the past. If you imagine some circles, so there's your work circle, and then there's all your commitments circle, like all of your family, friends, and obligations. A big part of, what I do is I'm working with people who have obligations. I'm working with people who have day jobs. I'm working with people who want to create a new option for themselves where they're in control, a plan B that can hopefully become a plan A, something that can create some money initially, and then they can build it up and they can turn that into a $10,000 a month business so that they can go full time. And then when they're full time, they can then take that leverage, build a team, and then build a lifestyle. That's why our business is called Niche Style. It's about finding a niche you love and creating a lifestyle that you want to do it. Right. So that's all well and good, but a lot of it strikes me that a lot of time, a lot of these courses are designed through no fault of they're designed by people who are full time, and it is designed for people who have very little in the way of obligations. Particularly some of these social media strategies are one of the ones that I find particularly tricky for people who have a lot of commitments. And it may be fine if you're, in your early 20s and living at home and you don't have any obligations or mortgages or children or anything like that. That's not us here at The Challenge. That's not what we do here. And so what does that mean? That means that we are eking out, the business building. If you think about them as juggling balls, right? If you think, so we've got our work ball and our family obligations ball, and we've got our building the business, the thing that we're working on here in The Challenge, and we're juggling those three balls, and that's okay. And we can do it when everything is going well. We can allocate the right amount of time. But as soon as something happens, as soon as a fourth ball gets chucked at you, right, it's a whole different story trying to juggle 4 balls as opposed to 3 balls. And what happens is you don't just gracefully drop one ball and bring in the new ball. That's not what happens, right? When you stuff up juggling, all the balls fall on the ground. And of course, you pick up the most important balls first. So, if you've got to do your 9 to 5 job because you need to pay the rent and you need to keep your kids in school and fed and clothed and housed, that's the obvious one that you've got to pick up. You can't, if you've got a child that ballet lesson has just finished, you can't leave them there waiting alone in the waiting room in the dark while you finish half an hour off of your business building activity, because that's important. It's not how it works, right? The thing that we're doing here in the challenge is always the third wheel, because here's the thing. The quality of your life when you work, if that goes, right, if you get sacked, that is a major trauma. If things happen in the family, that is quite rightly a major trauma and needs to be attended to. If something happens in your challenge work, the work that we're doing here, if you don't do a drill, who cares? Right? It's the easiest thing to brush off. It's the easiest thing to let go by the wayside. Not because you want to. Intellectually, it makes sense. And even if you're super disciplined and all that, you will be arrested if you leave your kids outside in the dark for half an hour while you finish your challenge drills. It doesn't work like that, right? And too often, what I see is then that when people are doing these drills, it's always the last thing. So often you're doing these drills on your last skerricks of energy. You're on fumes, to use the fuel metaphor, right? Before you start to do that. And guess what? How do you feel when you're doing something on fumes? How does it make you feel as a fun activity, right? If you are struggling with every last tiny skerrick of willpower, because willpower, ladies and gentlemen, is very much a scientific thing. It's not a concept. You have a willpower. This is a metaphor, but you have a willpower fuel tank, and every single decision that you make throughout the day takes fuel. Right. And so often when it comes to your business that you're trying to build, you are literally running on fumes. The fuel gauge is literally on orange, which means it's easy to get distracted. It's easy to put it away, and it's easy to, to have it not happen that day. Because again, the consequences of not doing our work together are nil. Really, nobody knows. It's just, there you have it. Yet, unfortunately, the ramifications of that are, all too real, where you are working in a business where you are not the boss, right? You are the type, in this day and age, at any time, you can just wake up one morning, you can go into work and you're laid off, right? It's completely out of your control. Or you're working in situations and places that you don't want to work in, and you really want to do something, you really want to serve people, and you really want to do things that are in a niche that you love and that you want to do. That's what you really want, right? But we've got to figure out how to do that. And so energy management, in the very real sense of the word, is perhaps one of the toughest things, because because one of the ways to recharge your willpower tank is through sleep, is through food, is through things like meditation. But what I am finding, well, let's do a survey right now. Okay, there's no wrong answer here, but let's do, it'll be fun with everybody in the chat. And please, if you're watching the replay, pop it in the comments below, because I think it'll be very instructive for people. I would like, on average, your normal run of the mill night, I would like you to just pop in the chat, how many hours of sleep do you get a night? All right, so let's just do a survey. Let's have a look here. So just pop in the chat, how many hours? I'll just give you 30 seconds to type that in. Wow. So as they're going through a 6.5, 7 to 8, 6, 5 to 7, 6, 7, 8, 7, 6 to 8, 7 to 8, 5.5, 6, 5, 6, 7, 6. Like if we were to do an average here of all challenges that have that are sleeping, it would be well under 8, which is a real problem, right? Because the science tells us that you need 8 hours of sleep to be able to operate properly. The science is in, it is incontrovertible. One of the biggest challenges our society faces is the lack of sleep. And it does not surprise me, and I sort of knew this, right, that these numbers of 4, 6, 5, 7, you are operating literally with one hand behind your back. And I'm not surprised at these numbers, but it proves a solid point, which is why I think this week's challenge is going to be the hardest challenge that you've ever done in your life. Because if I was to answer that, it would be 8 to 8.5 hours, right? So, and anybody I know who is really, really successful, the answer is 8 plus. There's this whole thing of, I'll sleep when I'm dead, sleepers for sissies, hustle and let's make this work together. It's all unadulterated crap, right? It is one of the biggest tragedies of modern existence that you are not getting 8 hours of sleep, right? It's crazy, right? It's crazy. And Wet Laser has figured out what our challenge is going to be this week. Well, there's actually going to be 2 challenges this week. Okay, so there's going to be 2 challenges this week. Because here's the thing, if you're, and it's remarkable that you've done what you're able to do, but the trouble is the very moment that life throws in that extra ball when we're trying to juggle our 3 balls and a 4th ball comes in, everything collapses because you just don't have the energy because you're burning the candle at both ends. Right? It is, I'm tired right now, right? This is a huge problem and a huge deal. And as entrepreneurs, right, it's even more like I knew it was exacerbated because there's this combination of, there's entrepreneurs guilt, there's this guilt of, I'm not doing enough, I'm not getting enough done, I'm not, and so you cram and burn yourself out, out all of that. And it's, it's a huge deal, right? It makes a massive difference. If I get more than 6 hours, I feel like rubbish all day. Kenneth, it's not the fact that you get more than 6 hours, it's when you're waking up that is the problem. The science of sleep has gone on incredibly, like the amount of research, because here's the thing, we can actually study what's going on inside our brains now without invasive surgery. It's been a big, it's very hard to try to sleep when somebody's cracked your skull open, right? Doesn't help a lot. But now we can understand all of this and what this does, right? And so when you go to sleep is as crucial what you need to do. Serious asks, who says you need to do 1 big block? Why not 2 to 3 blocks? There are types of rhythms, sleep strategies that people claim that you can do shorter blocks of sleep. They're crap, bullshit, rubbish. And the science, again, is incontrovertible, right? You can live like that for a little while, but you are a person who has no family and no obligations, right? So bless you. So I'm talking about people who have family and have obligations. And you think the problem is when you wake up, Kenneth. You wake up at 6 a.m. every day. Well done. That's great. Guess what? The challenge is when you go to bed. That is the real challenge. Okay, that makes all the difference in the world. And because some of you have, Rich points out there the 90-minute sleep cycle, and he's absolutely spot on. We do sleep in people sleep in roughly 90-minute cycles. So when you go to sleep is actually far more important than when you wake up. So your challenge this week is to get 8 hours sleep every night this week. Now, for most of you, what that means is not extending the clock, right? It's not extending the clock. It's all about when you go to sleep and how you put together your pre-bed routine. Okay, that is what it's all about. So I don't want you to set an alarm per se, although you probably need to set an alarm to wake up, although I don't. I get up at 5 a.m. Every day, but I go to sleep at 9 p.m. every day. And I have my alarm clock is at 8:30 p.m. to let me know where that is. Now, I'm not saying for you to take my sleep cycle, not at all. There are night birds here who, the thought of going to sleep before 12 midnight is horrific. And yeah, if that's you, I'm not asking you to change that. All I'm saying is your challenge is to get 8 hours of sleep a night, every night this week. All right. So that is the challenge. And then what we're going to do. Okay. So that's part one of the challenge. Remember, I said there are two parts of the challenge. Okay, so part one is to get 8 hours sleep. And the way I want you to do that is I want you to figure out what your normal wake up time is. And it may vary depending on what you've got or all those sorts of things. And then I want you to count backward 8 hours, and that becomes your bedtime. Then what I want you to do is I want you to set an alarm on your device for 30 minutes prior to bedtime to remind you to go to sleep. Because what happens is we have every intention of getting 8 hours of sleep, and then we get on our devices, or we get a good book going, or we're watching TV, or we're working on the challenge. And because your willpower's low, have you ever been in the situation where you're really super tired, but you're still flicking through on your phone, or you're still reading, or you're still trying to read, or you're still attempting to read, right? It's a big deal. Right? It makes a huge difference. And what I want you to try is, so part one of the challenge is 8 hours of sleep. Part two of the challenge is I want you to take your favorite drill that we have done in the challenge so far. It could be wow facts. It could be headlines. It could be any of the things that we have done. Right? And I want you to do 10 minutes a day of that. But here's what I want you to do. I want you to monitor I want to do two things. Okay. There's two things that I want you to do. One is I just want to monitor your alert levels after having 8 hours of sleep. If you don't have 8 hours of sleep, you can't do the drill, right? There's no point, because what I want to try prove to you is do your drills at the normal time like you've been doing them. But what I want to do is I want to prove to you that having a solid 8 hours of sleep, you will feel better, be more focused, and have more creative ideas on 8 hours of sleep than the average here, which seems to be 6 to 7 hours, right? Now, an extra hour and a half of sleep is going to make the world of difference. So if you didn't get 8 hours of sleep the night before, I don't want you to do the drill. There's no point, right? Because I can't prove to you what you're trying to, right? I'm trying to prove to you something. Okay. So pick your favorite drill. Now, there's one other little tweak I want to do with the drills. When we did the drills, particularly the first 4 lots of drills that we did early on when we were practicing headlines and wow facts and all those sorts of things, they really were random. Like we were doing random things, because what I was trying to teach there was to, open up your focus, and I wanted you to get used to doing things on a regular basis. So now I want you to go back, pick your favorite drill, but now you've got a Sage document, you've got a practice fun market that you have picked. Now I want you to redo those drills on 8 hours sleep, and I want you to focus on those markets. So you may do Amazon reviews. Remember, we did the Amazon review challenge or the headline challenge. So, but this time, rather than doing them randomly or wow facts, I want you to do those drills with the with your market that you have picked. Let's get that straight, Edward. All right. Okay. So again, let's figure out let's go through the steps. First of all, the challenge, the hardest challenge for a lot of you, is you will attempt 8 hours of sleep a night every night this week. Okay. And the trick, let me tell you right now, the trick to it is to look at in advance, set your reminder right now. Indeed, if you've got an iPhone, something which you may not have even seen is if you go into the clock settings, you'll notice that there's actually a bedtime setting. So you can see mine there, 5:15, 9:15, right? It'll actually give you an alarm to let you know when you need to go to sleep, right? So that is a key element of this. And I understand for some of you, you may have, like, people literally have sleep challenges. So they find themselves waking up, in the middle of the night, or they have trouble sleeping, or all of those sorts of things. Then this is a really key thing for you to be able to maybe, there are sleep clinics now, like this, as I say, the science and medical, the opportunities for you to have a look and maybe seek some assistance and help through this. There are a lot of opportunities. All I'm saying, as a coach of over 480,000 students over 15 years, that people who get a solid 8 hours of sleep have more willpower to deal with and complete these tasks. I remember when I was in my 20s, I used to think that I could get away with 4 or 5 hours of sleep, no problem at all, right? And I did. I often worked very late and got up very early. And that was fine when I was living by myself. And I didn't realize what a crappy asshole I was when I was short on sleep. It really is crazy, right? Dan points out a great thing, and one of the big things, and actually, no, they're out there because I'm not in this room when I'm going to sleep. But I have different glasses. You may have seen me wear them one or two times, but they look terrible. You look like a complete dickhead. But the orange glasses, right, which cuts out the blue light, that's great. There are blue light settings on a lot of phones now where you can do that. Another great trick is actually to turn your phone black and white. Use grayscale, which you can do on modern smartphones. It is really a key element. But what I want to prove, my hypothesis is, if you can do this and then you record, and I'd love you to come to the Facebook group and give us your insights each day. When you got 8 hours, Give us your insights and how did you feel? Start to notice how you feel, right? And how that works. Thank you, Linda. Thank you very much. Yeah, I have a permanent, actually, that's the other thing I have is a permanent do not disturb on my phone from 9 till 6. I have a permanent do not disturb. There's a whole bunch of sleep hacks, and we might talk about sleep hacks as we're going. I didn't want to focus on the sleep hacks so early on because I really just want you to try get 8 hours of sleep. And the way to do it is, and I'm telling you, the trick is nothing to do with wake up times. It's go to bed times. That's the real hack here, right? It's about setting an alarm to go to sleep and saying, right, I have to be up at 6. So that means I have to be in bed lights out by 10, which means that I have to get through and do all my evening absolutions by, at starting at 9:30 and winding down from there. That's what you need to do. And definitely, if you have your phone in your room, I really would advocate making sure at the very least it's on do not disturb during that. And some of you must have the phone there because you're on call or whatever. Well, these are the things we have to work with. But what I'm trying to do is figure it out. All right. So that is our challenge this week. So let's just one more time, just so we've got it. The challenge is 8 hours of sleep a night every day this week. And I want you to achieve that by calculating backwards and setting an alarm for when you need to go to bed, which is half an hour before you need to be lights out, eyes closed. At least half an hour. You might even go 45 minutes. Don't do too much. Don't set an alarm too early because otherwise you'll get distracted and you'll do that. So, 30 minutes to 45 minutes is that's the window when you set the alarm to remind yourself to go to bed. And make it an alarm. Don't make it just a little reminder. Make it something where it goes, wow, okay, it's time. Okay, that's step one. Then step two, the following day, I want you to still do a drill and I want you to pick your favorite drill from what we have done so far. It could be editing, it could be the Amazon reviews challenge, it could be wow facts, it could be that. But I want you to focus rather than do it randomly like we did last time. What I want you to do is do it on your chosen fun practice marker. So you'll have a little bit more focus for that. So that'll be interesting in and of itself. I want you to spend 10 minutes doing that. Then what I want you to notice is I want you to notice how you feel, what your energy levels were like compared to how you've been doing these exercises for a while now. So what I want you to notice, and what I'd love you to do is come into the group, the Facebook group, and let us know your notes on this, because it's by paying attention. Often we do a lot of this stuff, all of this stuff is habitual and unconscious. So we're bringing a behavior that is probably our most habitual and our most unconscious, which is our sleep habits, and we're trying to bring those to the fore to see if we can notice that by getting a full solid 8 hours of sleep that we get that there's actually a really positive benefit as opposed to not having that. All right, that is our challenge. Good luck, everybody. Have fun. I can't wait to see your responses on the challenge. We'll definitely we'll explore as we go through the week some cool sleep hacks as well. So if you've got a really good sleep hack that you'd like to contribute, make a post on the Facebook group. That would be really awesome. If you've got a cool technique or trick to help out your fellow challengers, that would be awesome as well. I'd be fascinated by those as well. Love to see it, and let's see what happens. All right. And yeah, for a lot of you, you'll be off to sleep very shortly. And are we doing the same drill each day in our markets? Yes, you're doing the same drill each day of the week. So yes, don't forget to like, subscribe, bash the bell, all those sorts of things. Have a great week. I'll see you around the Facebook group. Can't wait to see your responses. I've got to tell you, I've been looking forward to this week since the start of the challenge. because it's so counterintuitive. You're thinking, wow, I've got it. My challenge is sleeping. But I believe that this is going to be one of the most dramatic things that we can possibly do. And your surveying has definitely told me that that's the case. All right. With that, ciao for now. We'll speak soon. Have fun. Get a good night's sleep. See you soon. All right. Now, where's my control panel here? Yeah, we are. Very good. All right. See you later. Oh, don't press that button though. This one first.